I was planning on having my wife on this video with me for a while now, but unfortunately, she's been so sick that we just haven't been able to make it happen. So here's what's going on. Now, if you've been following my channel for a couple of years now, then you've probably seen my wife in a lot of skits that we've done together. Over the years, we've done a lot of skits together, but when we aren't working on skits together, she's actually busy taking care of stuff behind the scenes so that way I can spend more time putting these videos together and working on other ministry related stuff. Now, if you don't know my wife, aside from God, there isn't anything that she loves more than her family because she's one of those kind of natural born moms that more than anything else, they just want a really big family to take care of. Yeah, that's her. As of today, we have two little boys, 6 and 2. They're beautiful, wild little boys. And we've actually been recently talking about having another, but we decided to hold off on that for a little bit once she started having health issues. So back in January, she started to get sick on somewhat of a regular basis. She would start getting weak and tired, and her vision would start to get blurry. It seemed like it was getting worse and worse for a while, so we decided to see a doctor. And that's when she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Now, whenever I tell people that she's a type 1 diabetic, they usually assume that it's the same thing as type 2 diabetes. But in reality, they're actually entirely different in some ways. For example, type 2 diabetes has the potential to be reversed by good eating habits. But type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease that basically stops your body from producing insulin. And there isn't a real cure for it because it's caused by your autoimmune system and not your diet. So unfortunately, it's chronic, which means that it should be with you for the rest of your life. Now, there is a dangerous element to it because if you let your sugar levels fluctuate too high or too low, then it can lead to all kinds of serious complications and potentially be fatal. What's scary about it in her case is she's always had levels that were fluctuating dramatically, and we've always had a hard time keeping them in that normal and healthy range. In the last couple of months, it's been a lot more difficult than usual to regulate her levels, and we just couldn't figure out what was going on. So finally, we actually figured it out and why she's been so sick lately. And it wasn't just the diabetes. We found out that she has another condition as well. Now, I can't remember what it's called, but it's what happens when you have a little human growing inside of you. Oh, that's right. It's called pregnancy. We found out a few weeks ago that Kara is actually pregnant with our third child. It was unexpected because we weren't really planning on it, but we're definitely excited and honored for God to bless us with another child in Christ. But being both type 1 diabetic and pregnant, it poses significant risk to the mother as well as the child. And this is because those complications don't just threaten her life, but they also threaten the life of the child as well if the sugar levels get too high or too low. And while you're pregnant, the sugar levels are a lot harder to regulate. Because our levels have been so unpredictable lately, we actually decided to set an alarm clock in the middle of the night to wake her up so that way we can check her insulin levels in the middle of the night. To give you an idea of the average sugar range, you should be between about 80 and 130, and anything under 70 is considered to be a danger. So the other night, when we woke up in the middle of the night, we woke up to check her levels and she was actually way down in the 40s. Whenever you're in a situation like that, you have to do immediately whatever you can to hurry up and get sugar in her body. And so we did, and we were eventually able to get her levels back up, but it was still really scary. I haven't been able to sleep the same since because I keep waking up having to check on her just to make sure that she's okay. Now, obviously, we don't want anything like that to ever happen again. And thankfully, there's this thing that's called a Dexcom. And what it is this little thing that attaches to her arm, and it consistently monitors her glucose levels. So that way it tells us if she goes too high or too low. And the good thing about it is it also wakes us up in the middle of the night if she's too high or too low as well. The only thing about the Dexcom is that it's super expensive, and right now isn't the best time for us. We live in a small 2-bedroom condo, and we don't have a car that can hold 3 car seats. So right now we're trying to find a way to save for another vehicle, and eventually sometime down the road, we're going to go ahead and move into a bigger place. But for now, our first step is to go ahead and try to get the Dexcom so that way we can make sure that Kara and the baby are safe. So the Dexcom company gave us an estimate of about $10,000 for the first year in supplies, and then after that, it should be about $7,000 a year. But as of right now, they said that the insurance company should cover half of the cost. So that leaves us with about $5,000 for the first year for the supplies for the total cost. And then every year after that, it should be about $3,500. What we decided to do right now is to try to get help to cover the first year of expenses. And I decided to reach out to you guys because I consider the Meme Team to be my family, and we're all one family in Christ anyways. So if you're able and the Lord has placed it on your heart, then go ahead and consider helping us reach our goal. I've put a link down in the description to a place called Give, Send, Go, which is basically like the Christian version of GoFundMe. Besides, they don't charge you fees just for you to donate. And if you've made it this far, thank you guys so much for sticking around to hear me out. We always appreciate your continued prayer and love and support. So love you guys, and I'll see you on the next video tomorrow. So stay tuned.